So I feel like I have many, but the most defining, profound one is my own personal story of transformation. And I grew up in church and had a career, had gotten my master's degree, and somewhere in my 20s found myself really struggling with life's disappointments, things I thought were going to come to fruition that hadn't. And during that season, I just really became very selfish and walked away from the Lord and embraced my misery and depression and found myself in really an abusive relationship and found myself pregnant.
Mm.
And it was interesting because I had many, many colleagues who said, just abort, just nobody will even know. The biological father encouraged me, offered funds, and said, just quietly go get an abortion and we'll move on with our lives. And in the deepest part of my soul, I knew that I couldn't do that in good conscience. And I ended up going to get my very first ultrasound. And I feel like it's really personal that it ended up being a Saturday morning, February 14th, 2004.
Mm.
And it was Valentine's Day. I was by myself. The place was empty. I was the only one there. And it felt very just cold. And I laid there and I had that ultrasound and I looked up at the screen and I saw this little piece of rice blinking. It was very early, so there weren't parts to see other than this little thing that was blinking. That was a big thing because it was my daughter's heart. And in
Mm.
that moment, it was defining for me because I honestly felt this embrace of the Holy Spirit. And it was like God just picking me up, taking that baby's heart, my heart, and just enveloping both of those in his heart. And I went home that night by myself and I opened up an old journal that I had found. And in the margin of that journal was Psalm 34:5. And it said, I sought the Lord. He delivered me from all my fears. Those that look to him will be radiant, and their faces will never be covered with shame. And that night, I decided shame was not going to be my portion. It
Mm.
was not going to be
Amen.
my testimony. It was not going to be my daughter's story. And it was enough
Yes.
with selfish living. I needed to be the mother I wanted her to look up to. At that time, I didn't even know it was a girl, but I named her Baby Radiance so that she would live a
Oh,
life knowing that the shame that the world might put on her was just what the world puts on her, but the Lord takes his radiant glory and exchanges it for all of those things that the enemy whispers in our ears. And as I've heard
mm.
these pro-life stories, I can't help but be reminded that when we turn our hearts to God and we choose to serve him, he is life. And so,
Yeah.
as we share our stories, some people think, oh, I don't have this grand story. Every moment that you've turned over to the Lord bears witness to his name. It's his story. And his
Yeah.
supernatural has something on our natural every time. And so that's why we actually do what we do, just this motivation, because we've walked through it. We know the fear. You think of that mama who was putting that baby in that dumpster, and I can't even uh, be met. Fear does weird things to us. It
Yeah.
makes us
Right.
make decisions we otherwise wouldn't. So I'm grateful that the Lord saw her and felt her, and I pray that he wraps her too in each of us as we walk through
Yeah.
our decisions.
I'm Erin Davis, one of the hosts of Grounded, a weekly video cast from Revive Our Hearts. You just watched a short clip. To watch the full episode, click on the link below.